Hey, this is Politics of Laura, and I got a good one and a good one for you today. Um, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I did a video about Charlottesville, North Carolina, and the issues that they were having there as far as racial, um, okay, basically racism. Now, one of my subscribers, Nicole, thank you for this, asked me to look into this. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present both sides. As I looked into it, that's not what was done. When I looked at this information being presented by the white community, it was reported one way. They didn't even say that she was there for 3 weeks and they walked out. That right there was just pushed aside. And then when the black side presented what they thought the facts were, it was more so of they just don't like anyone black, mainly a black woman, in charge telling them what to do. So what I will do is I will present both sides, but you make up your own mind. And I'm not going to put my 2 cents in it. I'm just going to let the reports show. And then you make your own mind up. And I would love to hear what you have to say. Here we go.
Black Lives Matter has to be really happy because an entire police force gone. It almost sounds like a movie. Every single full-time officer, including the police chief of Kenly, North Carolina, has resigned in protest of a new town manager. Chief Josh Gibson said Justine Jones is creating a hostile work environment and the department can no longer perform its duties and its services to the community. Chief Gibson joins me now exclusively along with his attorney, Hite Philbeck. Chief, how has the town manager created a hostile work environment for law enforcement?
Well, she came in, first of all, to start giving us tasks and all these projects all the time. And unfortunately, we're a very low-man department. We only have 5 officers. And I was working double shifts at the time to try to keep up officer safety and be there with the other officers in case something happened. We're a town of about 2,000 people. And so she kept on doing things like that. Then at one point, she wrote me up. And she wrote me up for being late for work. And I was like, no, ma'am, I haven't been late to work at any time. She said, yes, you have. You've either been in the hallway, in the foyer. You have not been sitting at your desk at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, yes, ma'am. Then she wrote me up for going to businesses and talking with businesses. She wrote me up for talking with council members that I've known for 20 years.
So she was targeting you, Josh. Josh, so you think,
yes,
I'm actually looking at the, her reprimands of you, her written warnings, and I'm thinking to myself, she didn't like you. She was targeting you. These are protectual, and Phil, you can chime in, but this all seems like, sorry, but total BS. I mean, this just ridiculous.
Yes,
Hite, sorry. Yeah, Hite, yeah, I mean, this is just classic targeting.
It's classic example of a municipal head that seeks to, and likely has no experience at all in law enforcement or training, seeks to micromanage a police agency over Chief Gibson here, who has 21 years experience, as well as 17 years of those as a police chief. She wants to implement all these rules and essentially control everything he does from.
Now, what I find interesting is that okay, I said I wasn't going to, but let me just chime in a little bit. Let me adjust this. Oh, man. Okay. Now, what I found interesting was this. Now, it is a small town, 700 people, and 5 police officers, 1 police chief. Sometimes enforcing the rules on the books can ruffle people the wrong way, especially when they've been used to doing things in a particular way that may not have been rule bound. And I'm going to leave it as that. I'm going to continue with that.
I'm sitting at his desk to who he speaks with. In fact, he can't even speak with her if he has a quick question or something unless he sets an appointment ahead of time. That's untenable, and it puts the public at risk.
Well, how did she get hired? Because I see that she sued a previous employer for racial discrimination, right? A black woman obviously sued her previous employer, Richland County, South Carolina, for gender and racial discrimination after she was terminated in March of 2015, alleging hostile treatment by Richland County leaders and her supervisor retaliating for reporting bad behavior. That lawsuit was later voluntarily dismissed, although court records don't reveal why. So how did you go from South Carolina suing for racial discrimination, ending up in your small town in North Carolina, Josh? Who hired her?
I wish I could. The town council does that. They use a company called Triangle J that supposedly vets these people, and they give like a nomination for them to select these candidates. And so it was all with the town council. We were not included in any selection process or vetting of anything. It was all with the town council and Triangle J.
And Height, I know that Josh was also accused of socializing in town?
Yes.
What? What? So you're never supposed to social? I don't even understand this.
Keep in mind, Chief is from this area. It's 2,000 people. Everyone knows everyone. He's known people for many, many years. And part of important duty of being a police chief is community outreach and be able to connect with community. His socializing, quote unquote, is reaching out to the community and keeping the relations in good stead and hearing from them and getting feedback from them so he can be the best police chief that he has been.
Well, Chief, that's what Black Lives Matter and all these social justice activists said that they wanted. The police to get in with the community, as Height just said, and work with the community, find out what's on their minds. But now I guess we have to get new marching orders. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's how
This
I
woman's
felt
a
about it
nightmare.
also.
She's a nightmare. I'm sorry. They got to get rid of her. And they got to get rid of her and bring you all back. I know the town wants you all back because we have our sources. But Height, thank you for representing him.
We have our sources. You got to get rid of her. This reporter, is biased as all outdoors, in my opinion. I didn't see where she presented the entire facts, and I ooh, okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone. But let me go on to the next one. Okay, he's really interesting. I'm really surprised that I'm using him, Roland Martin.
North Carolina, an entire police force has quit because they say they don't like the new black city manager. In a letter to the city manager, Justine Jones, in Kinley, North Carolina, Kinley's police chief and 4 officers, they say they are out. They have, of course, been with the department for 21 years. In a letter to Jones, this individual here, folks, is pretty laughable here. Talked about the department's growth, also said he did not see making more progress as long as Jones was the town manager. And this is the police chief here. And he claimed that since she took over, the environment changed there. This is Chief Josh Gibson. Of course, in addition to the 4 officers, the assistant town manager and the key clerk also resigned in protest of Jones's hiring. She's been on the job for about a month. The Johnson County Sheriff's Office will pick up the slack in response to the resignation. The State Highway Patrol in Johnson County will assist as well. The town is left with 3 part-time officers to run the department. Jones has yet to comment on the situation. What do you make of this, Larry?
It's ridiculous. I mean, she's been on the job for a month, and it's interesting to hear the letter you read, and I had a chance to read the article in terms of the change of environment, the feeling uncomfortable. Imagine how she feels, certainly if she's the only black woman or among a few number of black women who are trying to meet the needs of the town. But the fact that they resigned, it doesn't add up. And like I said, especially she's only been in the job for a few weeks. But once again, this is the issues that black folks, particularly black women, have to deal with in the workplace. I think that's really what we should really focus on. The challenges, like I said, that black women have to deal with. And individuals like this, and examples like this, just highlight, like I said, some of the toxic workplaces that black women have to work with. And we should support the sister. Maybe you can get her on the show. I know she hasn't come out with a comment, like you said, but maybe you get her on her show to talk a little bit about her side of the story. But once again, this is just individuals getting in their feelings because someone who doesn't look like them comes in with some authority.
Well, I'll say this here, Teresa. This is one of those moments where she should be talking. I get you have personnel issues, but every story that I've seen, she has not talked whatsoever. This is one where I do think it's important for her to communicate.
Now, I will say I agree with very little about Roland Martin. My daughter's cat. Oh, now you like me? I agree with very little with Roland Martin. That's just my personal opinion, but I have to say that he did cover the entire issue on both sides, and I think that he was quite fair in how he presented it, comparing to the woman that first started the reporting on it. But what I find rather interesting is how the police chief got a lawyer when he quit. 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, he was able to deal with her for 3 weeks, and then quit, and other people quit. It's interesting, but I think I'm going to follow this and see how it ends up. Okay, let me finish out Roland Martin.
What she's had to deal with and really what's going on in this town.
I'm sure. And even with a month's work of her being in that position, it's likely she went in with an iron fist. It's likely that she came out and said very clearly, what you're used to is not going to be the same. We are actually going to do some changes and reforms. And, I'm honestly, yes, I think she should come out. I think the messaging needs to be very clear about how she wants to restructure the office. And anybody else that wants to leave who plans on doing traditional practices, they have to leave too. So yeah, it is time to clean house. So she's in there to, ultimately, I'm looking forward to what her statement has to say, because she looks like she's there to do business. The article was very clear, and when she was brought in to be the town manager, that she was very interested in cleaning up that city. And again, if some individuals feel like they don't want to be a part of the program, or they don't like, the color of her skin, or they don't like that she is a black woman that is overseeing them and what they're doing, then yes, it is time to go put your retirement papers in, and we thank you for your service.
Until Run Balmont is here, she's only been there a month. Clearly, you got some people who are not happy with a new management style because they probably uncomfortable with somebody probably holding them accountable.
When I first heard about this story, the first thing that came to my mind, and Roland and the doctor probably can back me up on this, there's an old movie called Blazing Saddles, where this country town gets a black sheriff. It's in the Old West. And when he rides into town, the whole town basically either collapses or falls out, or they take off running. And it seems like this is a live action version of that. There is this thing that happens in America, and it's embedded in America's DNA, where you have certain white people, and we just got to be honest with this, who have a serious issue with anybody black in a position of authority over them. The idea of it scares them to death, and a lot of them cannot take it. And I think that's what you're seeing in this case. You see people who are used to having, again, like this other officer we spoke about earlier, having the power to arrest, having the power to imprison, having the power of life and death over a community. And when somebody comes in who's a reformer who says, I'm going to clean that up, they're automatically going to get nervous, and some people are going to leave, or they're going to make a statement like this. And then when you factor in the fact that this is a black person and a black woman, this is something that black people in positions of authority in the workplace, in executive positions, in legislative positions, in pretty much any position where you have authority, that to deal with on one extreme to another. And I think we need to go a little bit further. I know she hasn't made a statement yet, but I think sometimes the best statement you can make is action. And I think what has to happen also, every officer that left, there needs to be a review of every case that they've had a hand in. Why are they leaving? What are they afraid of? It can't just be this one black woman. What are they trying to run away from? That needs to be investigated.
All right, folks, back to our Road Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real
Sorry about that. I have to say that the guy at the very end, he did make some valid points, but I thought it was interesting. So I only decided on two. There were several videos made about it from the white perspective and the black perspective. So I only chose two, and I chose the other woman. I don't know Ingram. I don't know her, but Roland Martin, I particularly do not like his brand of reporting, but I thought I would go outside of my shell and use someone who I really don't like to make the case. Now, my question to you is, what do you think? Regardless of what I think, doesn't matter. What do you think? Please put something in the comment section, like, subscribe, and I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. 500. 500. On that note, I want to thank you for stopping by.